All right, everybody, how's it going? It's Nicholas Davenport, aka Mr. Mental Muscle. We have a special guest today. This is my first podcast in a while, first of 2024, and I'm happy to have Tyrone Jacobs Jr. come on. Now, if you haven't heard about this young man, he's been going viral for all types of good reasons, but I'm glad to have him on. He was discovered something I kind of share, and I don't want to make this podcast about that, but we both have locks, and he's a NASA engineer, electrical engineer, and he has quite a journey. And if you know my channel, it's all about the mindset, the mental performance, building, overcoming struggles. So if anyone can talk about it, I'm sure Tyrone can. So I'll let you introduce yourself, go a little more detail, and we can get right into this.
Yeah, man. I really appreciate the introduction. Yeah, my name is Tyrone Jacobs Jr. And to be honest, I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy. I get why people get, so enthralled and they're very enthused about a lot of things that I've done and that I am doing. And it makes sense, but I think for me, I look at it from a different lens or a different viewpoint because I'm the one that's actually like living the life. I'm not someone that's like looking at it on the outside. You know what I mean? So I think for me, it's just kind of like, okay. Like, I don't know. Like, that's just how I've been kind of treating it lately. I'm just kind of like, okay, as long as I can still breathe and wake up in the morning and eat and I got somewhere to sleep, I'm good. So I don't let this stuff get to my head. I mean, it hasn't gotten to my head at all. I'm overwhelmed. I mean, more than anything, but I'm just a guy. Like, I'll still shake your hand. I'll still give you, hey, I need $20, whatever it is. Like, that stuff doesn't change, or who I am doesn't change because I went viral or I'm going viral or whatever the case is. I'm still the exact same person. Like, who I was before it happened and who I am right now as it's happened, and I'm still the same exact person. Like, literally nothing has changed. So I think for me, that's why I wanted to stress the importance of mental toughness, right? And like how the mind, how the body connects to each other, because they do. And yeah, your body may give out, but your mind can kind of like trick your body into continuing to push through. So I think for me, the biggest thing that got me to this point, regardless of just my accolades and stuff, is mental toughness and having that level of like resolve. And that's the biggest thing about life. You could say, I want to be a doctor. I want to go to the military. I want to be a platinum producer. I want to be the next rap star, whatever it is. I mean, that's fine, set your goals and set them high. But if you don't have the mental resolve and the mental ability to get through hard times, it's a wrap. I don't care what you want to do. And I don't like to really put it that way, but that's just the true honest fact about it is no matter what goal you set, you're going to run into challenges, especially if they're goals that are really, really high that a lot of people have never done or achieved before. I mean, you'd be remiss in not think that you wouldn't run into challenges. So you have to know, like, life is going to happen. Life is difficult. It's hard for everybody, especially now in this current society, this current climate. A lot of things are just different than like what we're used to. We had COVID. We got all these different political conversations. We got a lot of just craziness going on with certain people and that have certain fame and stuff like that. Just a lot of stuff going on. So it's important to really keep your mental health protected. Be around the right people, supportive people that love you and care about you, people that want to see you win. Because as you ascend to greatness, they'll start coming out of the woodworks and
Yep.
saying all kinds of crazy stuff to you. And how would I know? Because it happened to me.
Mhm.
So, and you could be a person that wouldn't harm a fly or wouldn't bother, an elderly woman walking across the street, but people will still find something about you to nitpick. They'll find something. Oh, look at his hair. It's too long. Look at his beard. He needs to cut his beard off. Like, people will just nitpick at you. And so you have to have like this mental strength to endure all of that and know that it's usually a projection or insecurity or something about them that they don't like. Or maybe with you, or like with you being who you are, it offends them, their insecurity. So, and Deion Sanders, legendary defensive back, probably arguably the greatest of all time. He said, "Don't let my confidence offend your insecurity, or don't let my confidence awaken your insecurity." Right, and that's what people project so much, and they say, "Oh well, man, I can't Man, podcasts are hard to create. Podcasts are hard to build. I can't do that. So there's no way you'd be able to do that. Like people do this all the time. And so you have to just
Yeah.
believe in yourself, believe in your goals, and like tune out all the noise because it's very easy to get distracted by the naysayers and the comments and the trolls and all that, especially as you build and you build, the more it happens. And it's kind of unfortunate, but that's kind of the drawback of I guess achieving fame or being well known or you're at least climbing that way. It's not gonna all be positive. I mean, but it
Nope.
just comes with it. So you just gotta keep rolling.
No, I agree with that. And actually, I want to pull this up because you actually inspired me. You had a post on your story asking people
Mhm.
for feedback, and one of them stuck out. So I made a post about this because someone had gave me a convo the other day about work-life balance, and I have my own spill, which is almost
Mhm.
identical to what you said. I'm gonna read it because I want verbatim
Mhm.
people to hear this, and I want to hear your two
Mhm.
cents on what you said. So it was like, "How do you maintain work-life balance?" And you responded, "I don't. Will it end one day? Sure, maybe. I know how great I want to become, and it won't happen over or with balance. And I understand pouring into myself, family, and friends is important, but greatness requires a level of obsessiveness over what you do and care about. To truly separate yourself, I have to be unbalanced for a while. The typical person just does enough to get by, but not me." And I saw that I'm like, this is stuff I say all the time. And I had a similar conversation with someone last week about this very topic, telling me, "Nick, you go too hard, you do too much." And I told them same thing respectfully. I'm not against leisure. I have fun. I have a life. But when you talk about balance, it swings more to that work side or that grind side. So give your two cents on that because that was your response. And whoever saw that, I'm sure they probably took it like, "Oh, wow, I didn't
They,
expect that response."
yeah, they didn't expect that at all, and so that's the thing. Everybody. See, this is why because I know how most people are. Like the average person does not have that level of like being obsessive over what they do, and I have a lot of obsessive tendencies, and so yeah, we can be good, we can be all right, and do just a little bit to be okay. But I'm trying to be great. And when you say great, that's a whole nother ballgame, it's a whole nother story. And you can't be great. Just okay. I'm gonna go to 9 to 5 for 8 hours, and then I'm gonna just go home and just watch Netflix and go to bed. Like no, my days. I mean, like I said, my days are 12, 13, 14, 16 hour days. I might go to sleep for 3 hours, wake up, I'm doing it all over. Like it, so it's. I mean, yeah, it does sound like horrible when you say it out loud, but when you're somebody who knows what their vision is and they can envision themselves being something or being this thing, your energy is just drawn to it. And so I think for me, you know, me doing what I do, the level I do it at is, it doesn't really bother me. Yeah, and I have fun as well. I travel, I like to have fun. I'll go out with the homies and, we'll laugh a little bit and kick it and stuff like that. But for the most part, I'm at home, man. I'm building, I'm sending emails, I'm doing conference calls, committee calls. I got the AirPods in all day long. So I'm always on a call. I'm always sending voice notes. I'm always, whatever. So I'm always doing my emails and stuff. And so, the average person, yeah, they would definitely be like, bro, you're crazy. You need to sit down or you need to rest. And it's like, yeah, I get it. I understand it. But at the same time, we'll rest when we die or, when we pass away. Right. So I think for me, it's like, I want to put in the most into my life now while I'm here because tomorrow's not promised. There's no day that's ever guaranteed. So why would I just play it easy and just kind of be cool and like, okay, I'm gonna just relax a little bit without even knowing how far I could have gone in my life had I put just all of that effort and energy in every single day. Even when I'm sick, I'm tired, I ain't getting enough sleep, I don't know, somebody passed away. Like these things happen in life and you have to keep going. You cannot let things that happen on the outside affect how you flow. And I have one of my coaches, Coach Kendall Fickman. He's an entrepreneur, speaker and stuff like that. I was a part of one of his programs back in the day, and he has a saying, uh, "Don't let the way you feel affect the way you flow." So it's like, yeah, you feel sick or you feel sad, okay, process it, work with it some. But if you got something to do, get it done. Like, don't stop when you're tired. Stop when you're done. Like, stop when the thing is complete. And so all these slogans and mantras that I've been saying, I really try my hardest to live up to those every day. And sometimes, yeah, it's harder than other days, but I just have this obsessiveness about myself where I know the average person won't understand me because um, I'm not meant to be understood. The greats are not meant. I mean, yeah, I mean, okay, right, Kobe, LeBron, Jordan, Curry. I mean, we see all of these great people, these great whatever they are, activists, athletes, musicians, whatever field they're in. It could be my field, space. Elon Musk, whatever. We saw these people, and we're like, man, how did they do that? How did they get to that point? How did they? Because they're obsessed with what they do. You have to be
Yep.
obsessive. Like, there's no other way around it. There's nothing else. There's no other way around it. So if you're not obsessed with what you do, that's all right. I mean, I'm not saying you won't get a little bit of something. I mean, I'm sure you will, but you won't get what you probably could have had you put in a lot more energy and work into what you do. And so, yeah, that's kind of my point on it. It sounds a little bit unorthodox. I know it sounds a little bit strange, but that's just my thing, and that's just how I live.
No, unorthodox
So,
is true, but like you said, that's what, like I always say when I do my mental coaching and stuff, I was like, people want to
mhm,
be extraordinary without doing extra. And it's like you said, that balance, like if you do want to quote unquote have balance, you're gonna put it more towards the work side because like you said, you mentioned Elon Musk, LeBron James, Jordan. And in my
mhm.
field in the psychology and mental coaching, I got a lot of
Dr.
people.
Jordan Peterson,
Oh, you know about Jordan Peterson? So yeah, so it's
of
like people
course.
like him, they're outliers. And myself, even in my industry, because I'm on the performance psychology, I work with a lot with athletes, military, and it's like I'm an outlier and I get a lot of flack because I don't preach the kumbaya stuff. Like I'm all about
Mhm,
mindfulness, being healthy mindset, of course, but we still got to talk about the stuff that don't sound good. Like you said it earlier, like it may not sound the best or orthodox, but that's what's going to separate you. And it's not for everyone. I've actually have a friend who's like, and Nick, I want to be an entrepreneur, build my own business. I would never knock that, but I always let them know, are you ready for, like you said, 10, 12, 15-hour days where if you do the math, you're probably making less than minimum wage. If you do the math, you might be making almost like sweatshop wages at first because you're going to do a lot of free work. You're going to do a lot of stuff that doesn't return the investment before you maybe keyword break a profit. Maybe you might not ever break a profit and go out of business. It happens all the time,
mhm,
but people don't want to
mhm.
hear that. That's why that post really resonated with me because I have coworker or employees that I've lost over the years because their mindset was the opposite. They were like, "Well, I want to
Uh,
be this, but I'm not going to do the extra stuff that goes into it."
I mean, that's just it, and that's okay. Like, I am not here to change anybody's mind. I'm not here to tell you you need to be excessive. You need to do what I do. You need to have a drive like I'm not here to change nobody. I'm being me. And if you want to join along and ride along, I mean, hey, the door is open. Feel free to walk in the door and go for the ride. But if you don't want that same greatness that I do, it's okay. I'm not going to cast you off to the side or anything. But I just know that where I'm going, you won't be. And that's okay. I mean, everybody's not meant to go to the top. I mean, there's only very few that get to the top. And so, and like for me, I'm never satisfied. I have this unquenchable drive. Like I don't get full. Like I'm constantly trying to find more things to eat. And so I don't rest on my last meal. I don't rest on my last. "Oh, okay, I had a sandwich and chips earlier, so I'm good. Like I ain't going." Like even with all this stuff going on right now with me and just everything I'm doing, I'm still extremely hungry. I'm still the same person, the same guy, the same driven guy, the same motivated guy, the same. I'm 18 years old, depressed and suicidal, and how do I make it out of this? I'm still that guy. Like I have this mentality of like day one. Like it's still my, when I was 18, I didn't have what I have today. I still have that mindset of like the 18-year-old version of me in terms of like, you still haven't made it yet. Even though society would tell me that I have,
Mm.
I still don't feel like I've made it yet because I know how big my dreams are. And even when I get to my dreams, I probably still will not say that I've made it because I'm gonna find the next thing to do or add on top of that.
Yep.
So it's just a never ending cycle of just adding things. And, it's not for everybody. It's not for most people. I know that. So, but it's okay.
So on that note, you mentioned Dr. Peterson earlier. So I'm assuming you know a little bit of like psychology,
Mhm,
neuroscience, all that stuff. And what you're
mhm,
saying, like I know on some of your other interviews I watched, they talk about your past and adversity. So you just trigger something in my brain when I talk about with
mhm,
my clients when it comes to performance is adapting, right? When stress is placed
mhm,
upon you, whether it's physical stress, mental stress, it breaks you down a little bit, then it builds back up, breaks
mhm.
it down, builds it up. So on that note, how would you say your life's adversity? Because I know you have had quite a journey from childhood to now. How does that help build you up And I think that I would assume that has a lot to do why you're so strong now mentally, because you've been broken down to be built back up again.
Yeah, I mean that's really the best way to say it is God broke me down first because I couldn't have been 18 years old. Everything I have today, I couldn't have that at 18. I would have messed it up. So, I think for me the biggest thing is he had to destroy me first to give me the gift, and the gift is what I'm doing now. So I think we all have gifts. We all have the thing. Like what's our thing? Like why are we born? We all have that. It's just that most of us never discover it and most of us die with it. So I'm just lucky enough that God gave me mine and like he made it very clear. He's like, look, I gotta break you down first. It's gonna hurt, but don't think that you're gonna just be here. And you're gonna go through challenges and obstacles and you're gonna get into bad relationships, toxic relationships, you're gonna meet bad people, you're gonna hurt people, you're gonna do things that you're like, man, I was dumb. Why did I do that? But you know, God is a forgiving God, and He's one that, as long as you still walk on that journey with Him and lock in, yeah, I mean, I think you'll be okay. So I think for me, it's all about the mind. You'll say, um, I can't create a podcast. Well, yeah, you won't, because you just told yourself you can't do it. So it's all up here. Man, I can't become a doctor. I can't become an engineer. I can't make $100,000 a year. Whatever you say, you won't. Just like Henry Ford. Whether you said if you
Yep.
can or you can't, both ways you're right. So I believe in manifestation. I believe in like creating it in your mind and then seeing it come out in reality. And so that's the cool thing about my journey is you can go on my social media platforms and like most of them at least, and I kind of see a lot of my old, like really old stuff from like 10 years ago. And I'm talking about, man, one day I'm going to be an engineer. One day I'm going to be a speaker. One day I'm going to be like just saying that stuff before it ever happened. And it's crazy. 10 years later, 11 years later, I'm doing every single thing that I said I was going to do then and more. So, and that's just because the stuff that I'm doing now, I thought about it for the last 11 years straight. Like no days off. Like even when I'm going through challenges, hard times, payday to payday or paycheck to paycheck, whatever, however you want to, whatever, like any challenge, any obstacle, the manifestation of my dream has never left my brain. It's always been there. And so I think that's why a lot of the stuff is happening right now too, because I just never quit. I never gave up. I mean, you're gonna go through challenges in life. We all do, but it's how you respond to it, not what happens to you, it's how you respond to it. So if you go through something bad, yeah, it's bad, but like, how can you learn from it? How can you grow? And so I wish just a lot of people would look at their pains and like the things that they've gone through and like use it as fuel and use it as that's your purpose. At least I think, and just in my view is pain is not meant to just, okay, I'm hurting or I've gone through pain and trauma and it's like, okay, nothing comes out of it. You got to take that and turn it into something. But, that's a whole other story. But that's at least what I did and it worked out.
That's actually something we call post-traumatic growth, because you heard of post-traumatic stress,
Yeah.
right? So that's
Yeah.
what you said. There's the stress that takes away, because PTSD is a real thing, but the growth
Hmm.
is, how do I become better with it? And like you said, the
Hmm.
pain is not in vain. Like obviously it hurts, it doesn't feel good, but just going back to that stress analogy, you adapt and it makes you that much stronger. You break your leg, usually if it heals right, it's stronger than it was before it broke. And that's going back to your story, right? You stronger than it was before.
And that's what it is about your mind. Your mind needs to get callous, and I got that from David
Hmm.
Goggins. I mean, I'm pretty sure you know who that is, but a lot of
Hmm.
these little sayings I got from him, like with how we work out and our hands get jacked up when we like holding the weights. You got to do that with your mind. And like the more hard things you go through, I didn't necessarily say it on purpose, but just as life happens, like the more hard things that you go through, the more your brain will like know, like, okay, I've been here before. Like
Yep.
this hurts, but I've been here before. Like I've done this. I've seen this before. Right. So like you can say, man, I'm broke until next payday in 7 days. Okay. And then let's say you run into that again. Yeah, it'll still hurt, but not as much as the first time because you've seen it before and you survived it. So you'll survive this too. It's like the more things that you go through, your brain is just like, yep, I can take this. Yep, I can take this. Yep, I can take this. Then eventually you just have this unwavering confidence that's just like, look, you're gonna have to just take me out of here because ain't nothing gonna break me from getting to where I want to get to. You're gonna have to take my breath from me. I mean, and that's just my mindset right now. I There's no way I won't get to my dreams unless you take me out. That's just it. So it's either you take me out or you're gonna see me get to the top, one or the other.
I agree because it's like a lot of times people get scared of the journey in itself. Like I used to be a college professor for a few years, and I had students who it was a kind of like a community college state school. So they were going for the
Hmm.
AA. So like a lot of them was like, oh, I'm
Hmm.
just gonna stop here. And going back to you,
Hmm.
engineers, I know for a fact, a few friends that are engineers, and I know at minimum you're going 4 or 5 years. Some people go 4, some people go 3 if they're lucky, but you're going longer. So you already knew you had a longer journey. And then whatever you wanted to achieve after, you probably knew I had to do an internship, externship, low paying job. And then you get to the big picture, which is now. And you saw that, like you said, 10 years ago, but a lot of people see that too, but they get scared. It's like, dang, but I'm like, 10 years are going to go by no matter what, right? Because those same people who
Time,
were in your
time,
class, right?
time is gonna pass anyway. So why not put in the best effort of what you can do? Time is gonna
Hmm.
pass. So why won't you just put in all the energy into what you're doing? It's gonna pass anyway. You're gonna wake up and go to sleep anyway. You're gonna shower anyway. You're gonna go to the bathroom anyway. So why not? I'm telling you, man, like I kid you not, if you were to film me or just watch me for like 24 hours or something, like and you sit off to the side and kind of bro, I'm telling you, you would see me like get up 4 o'clock, 4:10, whatever the time is, something like that. Put on my church sermon on the TV. I'm taking notes. I'm watching stuff. I got then it's AirPods and the little these right here, the little with the what do you call these? These are the earpods. And so man, I'm always doing like meetings and calls and three-way calls. I got 2 conference calls at once. It's just my life, man. It's just I got so much going on, especially now with everything that's happening. So um I haven't been sleeping like the greatest. I can be honest with that. I really haven't. It's been kind of but I don't know, man. My thing is like, look, my iron is very hot, and I have to strike while the iron is hot.
Hmm.
Because it won't be like this forever, right? So while I do have what I have right now, I have to maximize it to the fullest abilities of what I can do, and I've been doing that. So 'cause it won't last forever, and eventually, I'm not necessarily saying it'll fade away, but I'm saying like there's going to be a new thing or something new, right? So for me, while I have this, I'm trying to maximize it and make it the best I can.
Right. So speaking of maximizing, right now everyone's been talking about the eclipse today, right? And I'm in South
Mhm.
Florida, so I know there, and this is not my wheelhouse, so I don't want to misspeak, but I know there's certain regions where it's more prominent, right?
Mhm.
So, on that note, talking about space, what got you to want to be interested in space and then eventually working with NASA?
Space was the thing that happened. I'll be honest, man. I say this literally every time, and I don't think people believe me. I grew up in a household of three, 25 grand a year, or whatever, 30 grand. That's not enough to really do anything. I mean, but things were done to make sure we had what we had, but it was very hard, drug environment, gang violence, all the whole nine, everything. So for me, I would say the best way to answer that is I wanted to escape all of that. And I knew that college was my way out. And I said, you know what, let me study engineering. And because I know engineers they get money at the end. So I'm like, all right, let me do that. And I just did it, man, and it worked out. And so with space, this was 2016 at the Nesby Conference, the National Society of Black Engineers. They had a conference, and I saw Boeing. And I went up to him and I spoke to him, and they gave me an internship, and I turned into a full time, another internship, and then a full time career in aerospace. But it just happened. Like I didn't necessarily, I don't know, I didn't like set like a deliberate plan to get to him. It just kind of happened over time. But with NASA, they came to me, so it's like the opportunity to work on NASA programs, that came to me. So I didn't go seek it out. Which is the other crazy part is I can see if like maybe I applied for this job or I applied for it myself and it happened. Like, I mean, it's still amazing, don't get me wrong. But for them to find me first, that means, if your value is pretty high. Like when your value is pretty high, people find you as opposed to you having to go seek out them. So kind of what I learned. Yeah. That's what you said.
No, I like what you just said though. When you get your value high enough, people find you because that's the thing. I have interns that work under me. I've have a few employees that are newer to the field, and I always tell them you got to make yourself so valuable that it's either impossible to
They can't
replace
ignore
you
you.
or
They
can
can't ignore
ignore
you. Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
and that
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
you're not guaranteed, but it makes it you're a shoo-in because if it's going to be me versus 50 other people, I like me because I know I put in that work over 15 years. You put in that work over 10 years. And that's why it's so important. It's cliche. Let's say stay on your path, keep grinding, keep working, don't give up. But that's literally what it makes difference because that's the stuff that they're going to look at. They're going to look at, well, his or her resume got 3 years and 1 internship. They look at your resume, you got 10 years, 2 internships, full-time jobs, side gigs, projects. And they're like, how can I turn this person down when they've done so much work at such a young age? It's like impossible.
Man, I had somebody tell me that I've lived 5 lifetimes already, and I was like, "Wow." Like, just to have somebody say that, like, "Huh?"
How old are you?
You know, 20 now, 30, and what time is it? 30 in, like, 6 hours and some change.
Oh, is your birthday tomorrow? Oh, happy
Yeah,
early
it's birthday
birthday.
tomorrow. Yeah, thank you, man. So,
Nice.
and even on my birthday, I'm still gonna be grinding. It don't mean because it's my birthday, Imma just take the
Yep.
day off and just not do like, I'm still gonna be grinding on my birthday, it won't change. So, I'm not saying you grind all day long, every waking hour. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying,
Mhm.
like, be healthy, right? Eat right, exercise, get some naps in, get sleep. But what I'm saying is, while you are awake or while you have the energy, utilize it because you won't be young forever. I won't be 29 forever. One day I'll be 50 and I'll be like, oh, shoot, okay, right? So you don't wanna get older and you're like, man, I wish I would have put in a little bit more effort. I wish I would have did that. Do it while you have it, while you can. Because like now, yeah, I can go off a little sleep. I can go off for 2 hours of sleep, 3 hours of sleep,
Mhm.
and just I can do that now. I'll get me a prime. You know what I'm saying? I can get me a little, whatever, and I'll be okay. I'll get a little bit of coffee, or whatever I do, but get a little power nap in for 30 minutes. But other than that, man, I think you just have to utilize the time that you have and maximize it, and that's what I've been trying to do with everything that's been happening to me for the last few weeks or so. So.
See, this is funny because I'm like I said, I'm in a field where they preach, mental health, mental wellness. And like I said, I am on that side. But what you're saying, I agree with because yeah, you may have had the best sleep or you might have had to stay up a little longer, like I said, drink coffee, whatever it is. But the funny thing, I
Mhm.
think about that mindset when people knock it, because I have people who literally will DM me, it's like, I don't like that post you made because you gotta have balance or you gotta have whatever, whatever. And I'm like,
They just don't get it.
they don't get it, but let's go back because I used to be a history teacher too before I became a professor. And it's like, I love history. And if you go back tens of thousands of years, we lived in way worse conditions and we made it this far. So you telling me in a modern world, I can't overcome a little extra stress of a little laxity? Like you said, it's not ideal, but you're 29. I'm 35. So I can still do it. Like you said. So when I'm 45, 50, I don't got to work like this. Like I think you made a
And that's
post
and
saying,
that's and that's why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it now because I don't want to be 45 or 50 going hard. I want to kind of relax some. Like
"Mm,
I'm not saying I won't go hard, but I want to be 50 and being like, okay, yeah, you know what? Like I have a couple speaking gigs this week out of the country or in a different state. I might take one, and then I might sleep the whole week just because I can, right? Like that's what I want to get to, right? It's just sleeping the whole week in my giant whatever type of custom bed I have and all the TVs and all that. So it's like, why not maximize it while you have it? And like, again, most people are not going to understand it because they don't want it as bad as you do. And that's okay. I'm not saying nothing wrong with it. Like, just be who you are. I'm not going to tell you to change who you are
yes.
or you need to be more driven or you need to be obsessive like me. I would never say that to anybody.
Well,
But I have what I have and you have what you have. I mean, ain't no thing.
I think that's a problem too, though, because I'm just a tad. My little brother, he's same age. He just turned 30 a few months ago, so we're in the same demographic. So it's
Mhm.
like I think there's a misconception that we, like you said, you don't have to be this, but for some reason, people think they need to have this mindset of this millionaire or superstar lifestyle. And I think there's an incongruence between what they're told to do or live like and what they're actually doing. And that's why people get in this thing
Mhm.
of, oh, why do I have to do that? You don't. You really don't.
You
Most
don't.
people aren't. Most people, that's why it's called extraordinary or above average. Not statistically speaking, only certain people can be above average, or that would be the new average, right? So it's this misconception I think between social media, TikTok, celebrities that everyone like, not everyone's gonna be there. What's his name? Yo Gotti had a song. I know I'm quoting Yo Gotti, but he's like, I guess ain't nobody broke because he had a song called
Yeah.
Everybody. He's like, I guess ain't nobody broke, ain't nobody falling off. Like, no, there's gonna be people who aren't the smartest, aren't the richest, aren't the biggest, aren't the strong. In sport,
They still
same
make
thing,
it.
right? So it's like, it's just about exactly, it's where do you fall in and how can you overcome? I'm not going to discount your grind, but know where you fit into that and then make the best effort.
Plain and simple, man. That's it. So I just want people to just know, you know, it starts in here. If you say, you know what, I can't become a doctor, you're not going to. Um, I can't get into the military, you're not going to. I can't pass that exam, you're not going to. So it's like if you just know it, it starts in your mind. It starts and ends in the mind. That's where life starts and begins. It's inside of the mind. Life is all a mental game. So if you're
Mhm.
able to outsmart, quote unquote life, then it won't, you know, it'll still be hard, but you'll get to your goals and your dreams a lot easier knowing that life is already hard as opposed to this something happens, you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna break down. Right. So that's kind of my thing, man, is like just knowing that life is hard, but you have to control the controllables. Like control what you can control and everything else, just let it just be what it is. Because life is life. It's unpredictable. You might wake up tomorrow and, I have no idea, man. These things just happen throughout the day. You're just like, wait, how did that happen? And life is just so it's not something you can predict. You might not even, hopefully you do, but there are people that leave the house expecting to come back home at night and they don't. There are people that get in their car expecting to drive back home, they don't. Like it's so you gotta take every moment and cherish it because you don't know when your time is up. So and that's why I go so hard because, I don't know when my last day is. I have no idea when my last day is. So until that time comes, until God says, all right, I'm ready for you to be done with this and come with me. I'm gonna just give it my best. We only got one, and we don't get a chance to wake up again after. Like you get one life, that's it. Maximize it.
Mhm. Yeah. So speaking with that, we talked about this a little before we got on camera, but being a mentor, I know you do mentoring, you do speaking. So in the Black community, this is something near and dear to me. I'm from a place, I don't know if you're familiar with the South Florida area at all. I'm from a place called Deerfield Beach. It's right outside of Fort Lauderdale, Miami area, a little north of that. And it's like, I was fortunate enough, my dad and my mom were married, they're still married, and my dad was police. So I had a decent upbringing, but I still not to the extent of you, but it's like the examples that were set for me helped guide me a lot. I had coaches. I was a
Hmm.
lifelong athlete. I had my dad, my big brothers. So being that for not just your direct community, but now with your platform now, the world really, what is the significance of showing different career paths, different grinds that don't not and like I said, it doesn't knock because I'm a former athlete. I don't know if you play sports. I don't knock that route because I have numerous clients that are NFL or pro athletes. So obviously it's near and dear to me, but showing that there's other lanes that we can do in the Black community, especially for our young men. As a female Black community, I don't see it as much, but in the male, I see it a lot that it's either ball or nothing else.
Yeah, I think it's just about exposure and just letting the kids know that they can be, something else that's not LeBron. Like you can be Einstein, you can be Elon Musk. Like you got to show them that it's possible because a lot of kids, well, most kids, all they see is rap or basketball or whatever the sport is, football, right? So I'm not saying that's wrong, but you gotta somehow help them gear their minds beyond just sports and entertainment. Um, and that's why I do what I do because I want to be a person to kind of be that guy to be like, look, you don't have to do this or this, you can do this, and see how cool that is, right? So that's kind of my thing and motivation behind it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's good. Keep doing what you're doing. And I guess this segues to another aspect, like say how I started this off, how I even came across your page, and a lot of people
Hmm.
were fortunate enough to discover your page is the hair, right? So it's
Hmm.
like I guess that gives some credence to the fact that people might look at it as, oh, you could still be you, still
Hmm.
work for NASA, still be an engineer, still smart, still driven, and not necessarily have to conform. And that's kind of the reason I kept my hair. People ask me all the time. I'm getting older. I work in a lot of corporate office. I work with police departments, and I get some flack sometimes. Not like don't wear that or cut your hair, but it's more so like, well, that's not the typical look. And I'm still in these doors, and if people think certain things, cool. But at the end of the day, that's why I keep them. So it's like, how does that play a factor? Because that's what got a lot of people when you went viral, like, hey, he looks like someone like they still accepted it. He's still smart. He still got the credentials and he ain't changed for it.
That's the biggest thing is like it's not conforming. Um, if any job, company, or organization said, "Hey, you have to cut your locks or like you can't work here," I would be gone. I wouldn't cut them. And there's power in just being who you are. So like, why would I? That's level of control. Because if you like, for example, if I was working for you and you said, "Hey, man, before you start, you got to cut your hair." Well, I would say one of the things, I'm like, "All right, well, you got to cut your hair too, I guess, right?" Or B, right? I might look like, "Hey, you tried, it's not gonna work because I'm not cutting my hair. So you may need to find somebody else that has what you're looking for." And that's the biggest thing because if you tell me to cut my hair to work there, and I actually end up doing it, you have a level of like control over me. You can kind of tell me to do whatever. You kind of tell me to do what you want me to do. 'Cause I didn't cut my hair for you, so like I mean, it's like you gotta have power in just being you and being confident in who you are, and not conforming to society or society standards or the stereotypes or you got lives and you might have a tattoo or tattoos or just whatever the things are that they try to beat us down on. Just be who you are, and the right people will be there with you and vouch for you. So,
Nah, that's exactly how I look at it. I'm like, if they want me there, regardless, they're gonna have me. And if they don't want me, I don't want to be. Because I
yeah,
think that's something in general people need to get over. Not even just with hair and stuff. Is that if someone
mhm,
don't want you there, you should be begging for them. Because, like you said, once you get in there because of their standards, you lost
mhm,
yourself. They're gonna do the next
mhm,
thing. It might be your clothing. It might be your
mhm.
accent. But next thing you
They
know,
gonna
they're
they
gonna be
gonna they
asking
they
for
gonna
more.
keep they gonna keep drilling down. So that's why I said just don't do it because they gonna get you that one time, and then after that they're gonna find something else, and then you gonna wake up and then be like a shell of yourself. Like you don't even know who you are because you let this person or this organization or company, whatever, get inside your head. So that's why I say this: don't conform, be who you are, and don't cut your hair. Don't whatever. Like, oh, you got to get really good tattoos. Only do those things when you want to do it, and not because somebody else told you to do it. And that's the biggest key.
Okay. So I want to change up the pace a little bit since you're a man of science and you work in the space industry. And this is probably something you probably heard a lot, or maybe not, I don't
Hmm.
know. But what do you think goes into people who are flat earthers?
Oh man, I don't know. That's a debate that's been going on for so long. I have no idea. I mean, everybody has their opinion. I don't normally get too deep into like a lot of those conversations. I mean, yeah, like I have my thoughts on it, but I don't, I
Mhm.
don't, I don't take it like seriously because everybody has their
Oh,
own reasons as to why they believe what they do. And so yeah, I might joke a little bit. I might say little things to just kind of be funny. But if somebody believes Earth is flat, I'm not gonna be like, "Hey man, you believe Earth is flat? Like your life sucks." I'm just like, "Okay, man, cool. Let's just
okay,
move
true.
on." Yeah.
Don't entertain it, right?
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
forget there was some quote I want to say it was like Mark Twain. He said, "Be careful when arguing with fools because other people won't know which is which," or something like that. So
Yeah, 'cause
eventually,
they'll make you look. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's it. Yep.
yeah, that's a good take on it. But yeah,
Mhm.
so you mentioned way in the beginning, and I want to touch back on this. And I didn't want to forget before we finish mental health, because obviously I'm in that field, little different side of it, but I still talk about the
Mhm.
typical mental health struggles, depression, anxiety, life worries. And you mentioned a topic that is very touchy. People don't like saying the word. And I made it my duty to say this word. I've done conferences and workshops with police where suicide is very prevalent. I personally have lost on maybe a hand and a half of people that I know directly, not even just acquaintances, people I went to school with, work with, friends that are no longer here, and all males that lost their lives because they took it themselves because they felt they could not go on anymore. So you mentioned that
Mhm.
earlier. And if you want, obviously I won't push it, but you don't have to be necessarily your direct story, but your thoughts on being able to get through those tough times when you feel like there's nothing else you can do, being at that desperation.
Mhm. Man, that's hard. Like I just went through something like this, like not suicide, but I had a rough week a few weeks ago before the picture went viral. Literally like 7 days before, I had a rough week. Man, I'm desperate. Okay, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Literally, man, woke up, did the picture, didn't think nothing of it. I just took the picture. Okay, cool, whatever. I'll post it on Facebook. I'll post it. Yeah, I know it's gonna get a little bit of love, right? Like, wow, yeah, it's a nice picture. Blah blah blah. Whatever. Yeah, I didn't think nothing crazy. An hour later, everything changed. So, I think for me, these conversations in this topic is very tough, but I do know that it's possible to get through. You just have to have the right people in your corner, and you have to have someone that listens to you, that wants you to get out of that situation. A lot of times it's hard to do that because a lot of times you can be that person for somebody and they'll still do it. So like it's just I think a lot of times what may help with something like that is or what could help is the person that's going through that is feeling like they have a sense of belonging. They don't have a sense of belonging or purpose. So that's why it's so easy for people to just kind of do it or consider it because they don't feel like they have a reason for being here anymore. And I used to be that person. So they got to have a level of like purpose and sense of being born. And if they're able to identify that, I mean, I think it would save more than what it would do harm.
No, I agree that purpose statement, that's real because
Yeah, it's purpose. Yeah.
from my experience with it, from personal experience myself to friends that have called me and confided, it always really does sound, it may not be directly the word purpose, but what they describe is like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, or why am I
Hmm.
here, or no one gets what I need to be, and I don't know within myself. So when you say you need to find the right people, that's very key
Hmm.
because every person I know that did take their own life, looking back, it's like, dang, they were kind of like outliers. They weren't antisocial,
Hmm.
but it's like you can tell there was differences. You know, some people they hide it better. Some people covered up with being more social. So it's kind of hard to notice. Like that's why I always tell people don't look necessarily for sadness, but look for changes in their demeanor, changes in their like habits. So if you know Johnny loves to go fishing every Friday,
Hmm.
and you say, "Hey Johnny, when last time you went fishing?" He'd be like, I don't know, man. It's been about 6, 7 months. It doesn't mean he's suicidal, but it's like maybe you should ask more like, oh, why ain't been
Ask them.
fishing?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it could be that
You gotta
simple, right?
notice the patterns and break down people's like patterns. Yeah.
Because
Hmm.
we get
I would
we
say
get
that.
caught up, we get caught up in that moping face. And it's like some people will present it, but I would say, especially men, I don't want to make it a man woman thing, but I would say that we are more likely to like channel it into just ourselves and be like, what do
Hmm.
I need to do internally? And sometimes it is internal, but sometimes it's not. And
Hmm.
it goes back to that social. That's why the number I think is about 4 to 5 times higher for men. Like I think women are more likely to attempt because they typically do the more like, pills, stuff like that. But
Hmm.
men typically
Hmm.
do guns, jumping off of things, jumping in front of things,
Yep.
things that are more finite. So it's not saying one's worse or better or easier. It's just
Hmm.
that I think we don't do as well channeling. We choose more violent ways because it's like this is the end, and then it's like that second thought
Hmm.
can't happen if you do it that way. If you jump off something, it's
Right.
over. If you shoot yourself,
It's
it's over.
over.
Versus
It's over.
like
Yeah.
if it's pills, you might reconsider. Like, oh shoot, because if you
Yeah.
survive that, maybe you
Yeah.
have that
Then it's like
renewed life. Like
you might
dang.
have a sense. Yeah. You sense of purpose. Yeah. That's it.
So yeah, so that's
Yep.
why I'm big on like talking about this, even though it's that don't say it type of thing, don't talk
Hmm.
about it, don't speak it.
Hmm.
And I get it, it's hard, right? Like who wants to talk about, hey man, you okay? Sure. And then you just go
Hmm.
about your day versus like, nah, let's really go deeper into this. And obviously sometimes people don't want to talk about it. So you got to figure out, okay, maybe I can find someone else because maybe it won't be their husband or wife, or maybe it won't be their brother. So maybe it'll be an acquaintance even. So, you just got to
Hmm.
figure out what to do with them.
Hmm. That's it, man. I would agree. You said it. You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, because that's something, even if you want to go even deeper to it, like I don't want to like make a rant on this, but it's just like the day-to-day mental health. So if I was to ask you like,
Hmm.
and there's no right or wrong answer to this, but what is things that you do to get your mind right? That's my slogan actually for my company, get your mind right. So what was something day-to-day you would do? It could be simple as reading, it could be, you mentioned church sermon, could be going for a walk, whatever it is. What does Tyrone do?
All of it, man. I read, I write, I study, I look up different ways to build my business and my branding and everything, my network. But I think for me, my sense of purpose and my sense of like, okay, I feel all right, is knowing that I'm just doing something every day to push forward. I'm doing something, whether it's send out one email a day, I'm making one phone call every 2 days, but whatever it is, I have to know that I'm doing something to push myself and my business forward, or just myself, my career, whatever. So if I feel like I'm not doing enough, or if I'm leaving stuff on the table, yeah, I'll probably get kind of depressed about it because it's like I know I can be better than that.
I think that's a good
And
point
I think,
just made too about
hmm.
knowing, like, say, leaving stuff on the table. People look at it as like there's this one size fits all, and for you, it
Hmm.
is that. I get that 200%. You feel kind
Hmm.
of like you know how they talk about introversion, extroversion, and a lot of people talk about
Hmm.
it like outgoing, and it's not really about outgoing. It's about where do you find the
No,
most
no, no.
renewed energy? Like, do you feel it
Renewed energy.
more
Yep.
when you're to yourself, thinking in your thoughts, like, how could I make this move with my business, or how could I grow my program? Versus like, oh, I need to talk to someone. So it's like I'm assuming, correct me if I'm wrong, you're that type of person. You're not necessarily an
Hmm.
introvert, but you have introverted tendencies. Whereas, like, if I'm sitting in my thoughts by myself, I can come up with some amazing things versus let me be around 500 people. I could probably be social, but I'm probably going to come up with them ideas when I'm in my deep thoughts. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. No, I think for me, I think I'm more introverted to be honest, but I do have a lot of extroverted tendencies, so I probably say it's the other way around. But yeah, I mean, I think I get my charge from just being by myself, where I have time like write things down, plot out things, calculate things. That's where I kind of get that recharge at. I mean, personally for me, yeah, that's what I would describe that.
Okay, nice, good stuff.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
before we wrap it up, I do something every podcast. I call it the take home two. So I give my guests a chance to think real quick and give two things that if the people on this podcast who watch it only saw these last two things, they could take it home and put it in direct practice. It could be a saying, could be a skill, it could be a mantra, whatever it is. But to take home to something they can take away and directly put into the action of their day to day to help with their mindset.
Okay, number one, I would say conquer your mind, conquer your life, and number two, I would say um, it's not failure, it's a lesson. Find the positive and find the silver lining in that lesson and use it to build yourself up to be bigger and stronger the next day.
Now, definitely, I agree
Yeah,
with that
that's that
100%.
was it. Yeah,
Failure, I think that goes back to what we talked about earlier about when we said
no failure.
10
Yeah.
years go by and they like
Mhm,
10. I think it's that's why they don't do it. It's
mhm.
not that they're scared to put in work because I think people for the most part are willing to work hard. But when
Yeah,
it's
they're
something
willing
they
to.
know
Yeah.
they won't succeed, quote unquote, or win at, they're less
Hmm.
likely to people love to do what they're good at. And I said this on a post a few weeks ago that most people are average by definition. So most people can do what most people can
Hmm.
do. Therefore, they're only going to do what
Hmm.
everyone else does. Therefore, they're not going to try
But
that extra stuff that's going to put them forward.
that's
That
why I do what I
failure.
do. That's why I do. That's why I do it the way I do it because I don't want to get what everybody else gets. I want to be in rooms and be with people and be with like how the heck did you get in this room? How did you meet this person? How did you get in that room? That's what my thing is. So yeah. Hopefully I get there.
Looks like you're on your way. I would like to say that like I'm big on like an organization like NASA, even if you know nothing about space. I don't care if you've
Yeah,
never
you still
even
know what it is.
you
Yeah.
know what I don't care if you don't even know what the acronym stands for. Like
Yeah,
people, I would
yeah. You
say
know.
you know what it is, right? It's one of them things that it's recognized as like Tom Brady or Michael Jordan. I don't care if you ever watch football, you know Tom Brady, you never watched basketball.
Hmm.
So you work for one of the large, not one of the, I would say the largest space, because I can't really name all of them. I know there's other ones
Hmm.
across the world,
Yeah,
but
there's other ones. Yeah.
this is one in America at least comes to prominence. And it's like the fact that you're even
Hmm.
there, we think about, say, like movies like Hidden Figures, right? I know that's kind of cliche. I know that was 60 years ago, but it's like thinking about how that was like one of the first instances of a black person being in NASA. And now 6 years ago is grown. And obviously it's always room to grow, but it's like you're doing it. Like obviously you're at the beginning of it. But I think from what you've done in these last 10 years, that's the fun thing that these 10 years up to this point were just the practice to get to this point. And now you're able
It's
to
so
get to the
crazy.
next point.
Yeah, it's so crazy you say it's practice, man. That's the best way I can really describe it. Is that you don't think like it that as you're doing it, but you're like, man, hold on. There's like a whole nother level I can get into. Then there's another level I can get into. It's like Mario. You keep jumping up, you keep jumping.
That's a good
And
one.
then one day you'll look and be like, wow, actually, like I really made it all the way here. So maybe at that point, when I'm like 70, I'm like, all right, okay, so sit down, okay, process it all. Like, how do you feel? But I don't think I'll have that for a long time.
Exactly. Those 10 years is
Yeah.
literally what got you here. So to get it's like the entrance ticket, right? That
Hmm.
10-year grind,
It's the entrance. Yeah.
and now it's time to thrive. Now, this is what I tell my athletes, my military, my police. Like I look at every population. I don't care if you're a business owner. I work with them. I work with
Hmm.
corporate wellness. I tell them the same things and exactly what you're doing. Like I said, I've seen high performance across the board, and I've helped them
Hmm.
or I've refined it. And you're doing what you need to do. So I know that that's the humbleness in you saying I'll get there, but that's good because that means you're still hungry regardless. And that's one thing I preach to I was telling my cadets today. I work with a police department down here. I was telling them I don't care if it's easy or hard. I should see no difference in your demeanor, your effort, your drive, because at the end of the day, the end goal is all that matters. Some days will be
That's it.
easy, some days will be hard, but your grind never change, right?
That's it.
So yeah, so let us know for people that may not know where to find you on website, Instagram, social medias, whatever you want to plug it. And yeah.
Yep, yep. Yeah, my website, www.tyronejacobsjr.com, TYRONEJACOBSJR.com. And it's all social media is my name, Tyrone Jacobs Jr. Again, TYRONEJACOBSJR. As long as you go to Instagram, Twitter, if you type in Tyrone Jacobs, Tyrone Jacobs Jr., and you see a black man with locks, it's me. So feel free to check me out
All
if
right,
you
nice
wish.
stuff. And I'll put all those on the screen so there's no
For sure.
confusion and all that
Yep.
good stuff. So yeah, thanks for coming through. This is my first one of the year. I'm glad to get this back kicked off. And as always, people, get your mind right.
Peace.